So you're thinking of moving to Australia and you've just realised how much fucking money it costs. Moving to the other side of the world is really expensive. G'day guys, my name's Ross and I moved with my family to Australia during a global pandemic. I don't want to know how much money I've shelled out over the last few years on migrating to Australia. It's kind of depressing. It's probably a lot. So if you're thinking of moving to Australia, I want to share with you my six hacks to save money when moving to Australia. First of all, if you're moving to Australia, you're probably not going to have come from there in the first place. So you're going to want to get some Australian dollary dues.
$900 dues!
You need to make sure that you're checking the exchange rates really often because they're always fluctuating, particularly in these turbulent times. One day it might be good, and the next it might not be so good. Depending on how much you want to send, that could end up costing you a lot of money. When you're moving, you're going to want to make sure that you've got a lot of money because then that's going to cost you even more if you have to end up borrowing some. My best choice for transferring money is Wise. It's really easy to set up an account. You can check the exchange rates all the time on the app, and when you're ready, you can send money over pretty much instantly, and it's in your bank account within a few hours. All of the money that we've ever sent to Australia has gone through Wise. They've got really low fees, and it often works out cheaper than using a bank account or like the post office. Why did I always change money through the post office? If you want to check them out, then use our code. I'll leave a link in the description, and you get your first $1,000 completely free. Like, not free money, they just don't charge you a transaction fee. Before you even get your bank account sorted out though, I'd recommend just bringing some cash. And in Australia, you can bring in up to $10,000 without having to declare it, like you're some kind of massive money launderer. Now that tip's going to help you when you move here, but how can you even start saving money before you've moved? Tip number 2 is don't spend any money on things that you might be able to do yourself. Now this one comes with a bit of a caveat because everyone's situation is slightly different, everyone's expertise is slightly different, and there's going to be some things that you can do, and there's going to be some things that you perhaps can't. Personally, when we moved to Australia, we used the services of a visa agent, and it saved for us loads of time and money and just hassle. If you think you can do the paperwork all for yourself, then that's a way that you could save some money. Do you know how you're going to get all of your things over to Australia? That could save you some money if you also do it yourself. If you're young, free and single, then it's probably going to be a lot easier to do things yourself. If like me, you've got a young family and you're really time poor, then some things you're also going to have to pay for. Tip number 3 could either save you some money or it could even make you some. How much stuff are you actually really going to need for your new life in Australia? Will your future self thank you for just selling a load of stuff? When we moved to Australia, we moved here with just a few suitcases and a small move cube. You can't put a price on sentimental items, and that's why you might need to send some things across. But do you really need a whole container? Are you going to send your car across? Like they've got cars in Australia. Sometimes bringing your possessions over is going to save you money, but most of the time it's probably going to end up costing you more financially and also just effort. We sold a lot of our stuff on Facebook Marketplace in one part of the world. And then when we got here, we just kind of bought it all back on Facebook Marketplace again. Not the same stuff, like just Aussie stuff. Really helps for electronic things as well when you've got like different chargers and plugs. You don't want to bring over a TV just because it was brand new and then find out the plug system isn't quite the same. And then it blows up in your house. Well done. Once you've sold everything, put your money into a new life fund and maybe your future self will thank you. My future self thanks me all the time. Thanks, Ross. Tip number 4 is going to help you to not spend as much money, but also help you with a bit of the anxiety of how much money you might end up having to spend. And that one is just make a budget. At the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know. And doing a bit of research, finding out how much things cost, is probably going to save you a lot of sleepless nights wondering and worrying. Take into account what you want from your new Australian lifestyle and just put it into a spreadsheet. I know it sounds boring and geeky just to put numbers into a spreadsheet. Once you start doing it, it's actually very therapeutic. And if it's going to save you money, it's probably worthwhile doing. So you've saved a load of money, you know how much things are going to cost. You might have even made some money for your new life. When you finally do get here, try and find a place to live that's furnished. Now I know these don't normally happen in Australia, and lots of places are rented as unfurnished places, but they do exist. And if the short term it means that you don't have to fork out loads of money on things that you're going to need, like a bed, unless you want to sleep on the floor, or a couch. I suppose that could kind of double up as 2 things. Especially when you first moved into a place and you're not sure if you're going to stay there for a long time, renting a place that's furnished could save you a few bucks. If you do find a place that isn't furnished, or at least partly furnished, then again look at your good old friend Facebook Marketplace, or any other places where they're going to sell secondhand furniture. We did it in the UK, and some of that stuff we ended up keeping for a long time and then sold it before we moved to Australia. Same thing's happened here. We still got some secondhand things and they end up being some of our best stuff. You don't always need to buy new. Save the world and buy something secondhand. And then the last tip is probably the one that's going to help you get here and start to realise your Australian dreams. And that is watch the price of flights. These fluctuate crazy over the year, especially now where even flights from the eastern coast over to Perth cost about $1,600. I was always told try and find a flight on a Tuesday, those always seem to be cheaper. But when you are looking for flights, make sure you use an incognito window on your browser. I know you know what an incognito window is, cheeky so-and-so. Or at the very least, before you buy your flights, make sure you clear all your cookies. You don't want those pesky airlines knowing that you've been looking before at the cost of flights, because then they just put them up. Bloody Google. Now I have been cheeky because there is one more tip that I need to give you. And that is once you get here, one of the first things that you should do is apply for your tax file number. If you don't have a tax file number and you start trying to earn some money, you could be charged up to 50% in tax. You want that money. So if you want to know how to get a tax file number, then watch this cheeky video. See you later.